July 14th, 1683. Dawn broke to reveal humanity's nightmare made flesh. The Ottoman host spreading across the landscape like locusts of war. A living carpet that flowed over hills and swallowed the earth. Witnesses spoke of seeing the horizon turn black with enemy banners, of watching a dark tide that seemed infinite. The ground itself trembled under the weight of 300,000 souls converging on one city to decide the fate of millions yet unborn. The visual overwhelmed human comprehension and shattered morale. Silk banners in 100 colors, rippling in morning breeze. The green standards of Islam floating above regiment after regiment, stretching beyond sight. Cannon trains that disappeared into dust clouds on the horizon. Morning sun glinting off enough weapons to arm every man, woman, and child in Austria. This wasn't merely an army. It was a force of nature that consumed everything in its path. July 17th brought the first bombardment. Thunder without storm. Ottoman artillery opened with calculated precision. Not wild firing, but methodical probing. Finding range. Testing walls for weak points. The defenders counted over 300 cannons, ranging from small field pieces to massive siege guns that required 50 oxen to move and could hurl stone balls weighing 800 pounds. Each shot shook Vienna's ancient stones and sent cracks spiderwebbing through walls that had stood for centuries. Initial skirmishes erupted at the outer works. Small fortifications beyond main walls became scenes of savage fighting that foreshadowed horrors to come. Here's the detail that still gives military historians nightmares. The Janissaries attacked in complete silence. No war cries. No drums. No shouting. Just disciplined killers advancing through musket smoke like ghosts of death. The outer defenders broke within hours. Starhemberg ordered tactical withdrawal to main walls. No heroic last stands in indefensible positions where every trained soldier was precious beyond gold. By July 18th, Ottoman encirclement was complete and absolute. Vienna became an island fortress in a sea of enemies. The last messenger slipped out through Ottoman lines before the noose closed entirely. Their reports to the outside world reading like apocalyptic visions. The city is surrounded by a living wall of warriors. Only God can save us now. Then Kara Mustafa made a decision that would echo through centuries and seal his fate. Standing before his war council with dreams of glory blinding him to tactical reality. The Grand Vizier chose slow starvation over overwhelming assault. Why lose 50,000 men in bloody storm when hunger would open the gates? Why destroy the prized city you came to claim through artillery bombardment? Greed whispered sweeter than military wisdom, but beneath the city, something unimaginable and terrifying was happening. Ottoman engineers began mining operations, the underground war that history tried to forget. Tunnels snaking toward Vienna's walls like serpents of earth. Invisible from above, but audible to defenders who heard picks ringing against stone in the darkness beneath their feet. The underground nightmare had begun. First tunnel encounters defied everything humanity calls civilized. Austrian miners broke into Ottoman galleries 30 feet below ground where sunlight had never penetrated. Hand-to-hand combat in absolute darkness where you couldn't see your own hands. Men strangling each other by touch alone. Knives finding flesh in spaces too tight to swing swords. Cave-ins deliberately triggered to bury fighters alive. Enemy and friend entombed together in earth that became their grave. Survivors emerged from shifts underground, unable to stop shaking. Speaking of killing men they never saw, of recognizing enemies only by the language of their dying screams, of drowning in mud when galleries flooded, What happened next remains military science's greatest case study in urban defense under impossible conditions. Vienna's civilians mobilized with unprecedented unity, born of shared terror. Women became ammunition carriers, running gunpowder to walls through bombardments that turned stone into shrapnel storms. Children as young as 8 served as message runners darting through collapsing buildings. Grandfathers who'd survived the 30 Years' War taught musket drill to merchants who'd never held weapons. Daily bombardment became psychological torture designed to break minds before walls, dawn to dusk. Ottoman guns maintained their rhythm, not enough to immediately breach, just enough to prevent sleep, fray nerves, chip away at sanity with mechanical precision. The thunder became Vienna's heartbeat. Children learned to eat between impacts. Surgeons operated by candlelight as walls shook and dust rained from ceilings. Disease arrived as the invisible enemy that killed without mercy. Dysentery from contaminated water turned men into walking skeletons who shit blood and died clutching their guts. Typhus from overcrowding spread through packed cellars. Infections from untreated wounds festered and turned gangrenous. By August, Vienna fought 2 wars simultaneously, one against Ottomans outside, one against pestilence within. Bodies piled faster than they could be buried. The stench of rotting corpses became another weapon against morale, but Kara Mustafa had made a fatal miscalculation that would cost him everything, including his life. His Ottoman trenches crept closer with serpentine precision. Earthworks approaching walls through zigzagging approaches to avoid defender fire. Each night they moved forward. Each dawn brought them nearer. But time wasn't only the Ottoman ally unknown to the Grand Vizier obsessed with his prize. Forces stirred beyond his sight. Food began running catastrophically low. Horse meat sold for gold by late July. Cats disappeared from streets by early August. Leather soup became a delicacy by mid-August. Children grew skeletal, their ribs visible through skin that stretched tight. But here's what Ottoman chronicles tried desperately to hide. The defender's spirit refused to break despite starvation. The tunnel war escalated into hell beneath Earth's surface, in spaces where nightmare and reality merged. Both sides used primitive explosives packed into chambers. Entire tunnel sections collapsed without warning, burying dozens alive in crushing darkness where they suffocated slowly. Survivors spoke of fighting in spaces so tight they couldn't stand upright, of recognizing enemies only by feeling their faces in darkness, of emerging from underground shifts unable to stop shaking, mad from what they'd experienced. By August, Vienna was dying by degrees measured in bodies and rats. Horse meat became distant memory. Now rats fetched premium prices. Families fought over single rodents. Leather boots boiled into soup that tasted of desperation and tannin. Tree bark ground into flour turned bread into sawdust that provided no nutrition. Mothers chose which child ate today, which starved. Decisions that drove them mad with guilt. The mathematics of starvation wrote itself on hollow faces and skeletal bodies. The tunnel warfare escalated beyond comprehension into savage butchery underground. Both sides abandoned humanity in those earthen veins. Fights with mining picks that crushed skulls. Men drowning enemies in mud that filled tunnels. The wounded left to die in darkness because rescue meant death for rescuers. Sappers worked naked to feel cave-in vibrations on their bare skin, their only warning before Earth swallowed them alive. Hand-to-hand combat reached depths of savagery that defied description. In spaces too tight for weapons, men bit throats like animals. gouged eyes with thumbs, crushed windpipes with bare hands, Austrian and Ottoman engineers killing each other in absolute blackness, where the only light came from explosive flashes that revealed glimpses of underground hell. Cave-ins became deliberate weapons. Engineers collapsed tunnels on enemy miners intentionally. Living burial as tactical choice. Survivors emerged mad. Speaking of friends and foes dying together in Earth's embrace, of continuing to fight while dirt filled their mouths and lungs,